Hello. Today I'm going to tell you my story of how I ended up rotting in prison, away from my family and all I have ever known. All started when I was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis when I was just 15, from being exposed to harsh chemicals as a child. These chemicals left me in bad shape, something that would stick with me for many years. My family could not afford surgery for me, as I was the youngest of five boys. Now in my early 20s, I could barely afford the necessary medication for my disease, let alone a whole liver transplant. I dreamed of becoming a celebrity, but not many came from the small town of Conway, South Carolina. I had gone to school for technology and engineering, and could always work with the latest up-and-coming televisions and radios. The economy was booming, the unemployment rate went down, and I will hopefully have a paying job by the end of the year. Supposedly, I would be working on interior and exterior electrical, so I headed off for my new job in the nation's capital. There, I met our president, Richard Nixon, the man who had assisted us in the Soviet Union. After a lot of hesitation from the guards and secret agents to allow me to shake the president's hand, I was forcefully brought into a great hall, with flags and a podium up on the stage. They spoke about the consequences of not carrying out our positions, and then the reward. I knew I needed in. Later, when I finished my first task, managing cameras and microphones that were supposedly going to be used for important information, I overheard a man speaking of how he wouldn't do it for twice that sum. I decided to carry on with my business, and many jobs were handed to me. I was never told why or what we were doing, but turning back was no option. Before I knew it, I was prepping for our mission into some hotel, which the plumbers or agents did not give me the name of. The initial job was not very exciting, as it mainly consisted of working with cameras and setting up audio tapes. Woodward was a name I heard often, as our leader frequently went to unknown locations to meet up with and speak of possible evidence and documents. These were supposedly used against party acts. We planned to head off on June 17th, me and a few other members of the Creep staff, who all worked to get Nixon reelected. I went into this situation with a mindset that Nixon was a great guy, but he was pushy, demeaning, and secretive. He furthered himself into this mess when he spoke to an FBI agent that he would help him get secret documents from party acts. This took months of planning and caution until we finally were ready and safe to carry it out. The day of walking into the hotel went as planned. Two of the men worked for the FBI and searched for hidden documents that could possibly be used against Party X, while the three of us worked setting up cameras and microphones. We went to several of Party X or the Democratic's rooms. Later in the day, we received our grants, and the next 2 years I spent searching everywhere for a donor, until just 5 months ago when my procedure was finished. Now I'm in perfect health, sadly constrained by the width of this cage and my body, the healthiest it has been, which I had dreamed of for ages. No longer can I utilize my body because 2 years after the scandal, we were all discovered and sent to the courts, and I will not see the light of day for another 20 years.